David, thank you so much for joining me on Coaching Call. How are you, my friend?
Good, good, doing good, man. I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. Like one of the great things about learning an instrument that I find is once you learn, it's a skill that will bring you joy the rest of your life. The rest of your life, you'll be playing and you'll be enjoying it. Even if you put it down for a little while, you pick it back up and whatnot.
Mm,
Um, for me, as far as sharing it, like once I got to the point where I could start trying out for bands, like I wanted to get into a band and then I wanted to, start playing out. And like everyone else, you start out playing in cover bands and you start out, kind of honing your craft and refining your skills. And then the creative side takes over and then you want to start, I wanted to start writing original music and looking for other musicians of like mind to create with, and then I started to find that, and I wasn't teaching at that point because I was putting more time into learning the craft and refining my art and then creating original music, and then I kind of made a decision like, okay, if I want to do this eventually full time, I'm going to need to start thinking about income stream. I'm gonna need to start thinking about, how can I make enough money to to support my financial goals and obligations. And it's
mhm.
very, very, very difficult in the music field to do that. And I quickly found out because once I started trying out for bands, you know, you start trying out and you probably don't get the first few auditions and you keep going and then eventually you start making the callbacks and then you still don't get to get and then eventually you get in if you just keep at it and keep working at it. And then quickly I found out that, there's not a lot of money here. There's not a lot of money playing these small shows and, not a lot of money just playing in your local town. And that's fine because I wasn't doing it
Mm,
for that. It was a passion thing. But you quickly find out, hey, you know, um, I'm going to need to start thinking about if I'm going to do this, how can I start making money? And then eventually led me to the path of teaching,
mm.
like, and it's interesting because with teaching, I quickly found out that early on, I found out that teaching requires a whole other set of skills than
Oh,
just
yeah.
or being a great guitar player. Because there's lots of great guitar players out there, but just because you're a great player doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great teacher. And I,
Mhm.
and I found that out pretty fast because, like most people, when I started taking private lessons, I had to go through 3, 4, 5 teachers till I found one that I connected with, till I found one that really took what they did seriously. And that was kind of like eye opening to me. Like, not to say the teachers I were going to were really that bad. They just, were trying to make extra money but they weren't fantastic teachers. It took me a while to find my like guru guy. So I quickly found out that okay, I'm gonna need you need a whole nother set of skills, and you start working on that, and then eventually it took me to the point where I could start teaching and sharing and start making money that way, and then that took me down a whole nother road. So
Mm.
and then you have these other roads as a musician too. Like basically when you're a musician, you have to have a lot of balls in the air. You have to have a
True.
lot of income coming in from various streams. Unless you're like at the top of the game in your band and you're playing like headlining like mid-size arenas and mid-size venues where you're headlining, then you're touring around the country and you're selling a lot of merch, then you could make enough just with that. But
Mhm.
unless you're at a pretty high level, it's really hard unless you have multiple streams coming in to as a and plus on top of that, the music business is a brutal, brutal business.
I can
It,
only, well, so many people in it, if you will, right?
yeah, it's interesting, and it's gotten even more as time has gone on. It's again good and bad, like because now like as an original artist creating music, it's really hard to get your music heard. Really, really
Mm.
hard because the the marketplace is flooded, is inundated with music because now you really don't even have to be a musician to create music. There's so many virtual instruments and whatnot that people are creating stuff. And again, I think that's good and bad,
Right.
but it makes it really hard to get your stuff heard because it's just so flooded. But that's the way the scene is now, and we have to navigate. and traverse those paths and find our ways around it. And then 80s, you know, was a big part of growing up listening to the hair metal bands and all the guitar virtuosos
Hmm. Hmm.
and whatnot. So, you know, I mean, I guess probably not unlike many people, you know, I was just drawn to it. And, you know, we just all seem to have that as human beings, you know, like I find it interesting that music is, I never met a person in my life that didn't like some type of music.
Hmm.
Everybody likes some type of music. And I don't know what else you could really say that about. Like not everybody likes, you know, going to bed early. Not everybody likes spinach. Not everybody likes, you know, the New York Rangers, whatever. But everybody likes some type of music. So it's something very innate within us, I think, something tribal that draws us to it. And but that's kind of like an interesting thing I've always found pretty interesting. Yeah. So yeah, listening to those records early kind of had a big, again, not that I really knew much about music or, you know, how they were making it, but I knew I liked it and I knew I was drawn to it. Yeah.
Mm.
Early on.